No.
Okay. This feels really warm, but this is what I'm used to.
No, I can't remember my password. Ha! Finally. Okay. All right, if anybody could tell me if you are hearing me and seeing me. I know how to get rid of this. So Vicky, you can hear me and see me? Good. All right. Um, I do have to figure out a way. There's got to be a way to share this URL. Um, do, 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 do. Hello, Paul. um, and let me know if there's any bad lag. I was told about some new settings to try, and so far I do not see any dropped frames, which is a really, really good sign. But I need to figure out how to share this with the folks on Patreon. Bear with me, folks. Um, okay, I think this is it. Can you all see the radar okay, I hope? That does not look right. Yes. That's not what I want. Okay, good, Jennifer, thank you. There's got to be a way to share this. I just don't know what it is. Luckily, there are no warnings in effect right now, so that's good. Although there are some strong thunderstorms that are moving out of Orange County, about ready to move into Durham County, and Pittsboro, you're right on the leading edge of some thunderstorm activity right now. There are smaller cells up in Vance and Granville counties. They're weaker, they're smaller. And then there's a huge area of rain. It doesn't necessarily look stormy. There aren't that many lightning strikes with it, but a huge area of rain that is now moving into Moore County. But quite a bit of lightning in Chatham County right now, especially to the southwest of Pittsboro. Okay, I think. Okay, I think. It's funny, I seem to be delayed. Oh boy. That, I seem to be delayed. Yeah, there's quite a delay here. But it's funny, it's saying I'm not dropping any frames, it's just delayed. Huh. Oh boy. That seem to be delayed. Yeah, there's quite a delay here. But it's funny, it's saying I'm not dropping any frames, it's just delayed. Well, hopefully it's not that bad of a delay. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to assume that that is the best we can do. So I am now loading up what is called NWS Chat, where any warnings that are issued I will get immediate access to. The latest special weather statement, a strong thunderstorm will impact north central Harnett, northern Lee, western Wake, west central Johnston, Chatham, and southern Durham counties through 7:15. At 6:15, Doppler radar tracking a strong thunderstorm over Goldston, or 10 miles northwest of Sanford, moving moving northeast 35. Wind gusts up to 40 and half-inch hail are possible. But that is not a warning. That is a special weather statement for portions of Lee, Johnston, Chatham, Durham, Harnett, and Wake County. There's nothing in Wake County right now, but they put that out because of the stuff that's over Orange and Chatham County that is moving east and northeast. I should be able to animate this for you here. There you go. So you can see that's right on the Orange-Durham County line. And then you see all this rain back in here with very little lightning. So, so far, this is much better than last time when my encoder was giving me all sorts of messages saying, stop, stop. And I don't think the delay is more than maybe 15, 20 seconds, which should not be a terrible thing. And my thing here is telling me I've got an excellent connection. I also bought myself a Cat 6 Ethernet cable and am not relying on Wi-Fi this time, so that seems to be helping too. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and so the severe thunderstorm watch that was issued, it was issued at 4:07 p.m. and it goes until 10, and it includes the, and I'm going to go through a long list of cities here, so hopefully you're near one of them. Aberdeen, Albemarle, Angier, Apex, let's see, Bowie's Creek, Burlington, Carrboro, Carthage, Cary, Chapel Hill, Clayton and Clinton, Creedmoor, Dunn, Durham, Enfield, Irwin, Fayetteville, Franklinton, Goldsboro, Graham, Henderson, Hillsborough, Hope Mills, Kittrell, Knightdale, Laurinburg, Lexington, Lowington, Lewisburg, Mebane, Nashville, Norlina, Oxford, Pinehurst, Pittsboro, Rayford, Raleigh, Roanoke Rapids, Rocky Mount, Roseboro, Rougemont, Roxborough, Sanford, Scotland Neck, and Selma, Siler City, Smithfield, Southern Pines, Spring Hope, Spring Lake, Tarboro, Wake Forest, Warrenton, Wilson, and that's it. So the severe thunderstorm watch is in effect until 10 o'clock tonight. Now, just to remind you on this, they issue these watches and the expiration time is usually coincident with the easternmost part of the watch area. And what they'll do is, as the severe threat moves across the area, and once that main area goes by, then they will cancel the watch for the area that the main threat has already passed, and they'll eventually chop it down until it gets to the far eastern extent, and then once it goes by there, then they'll cancel the watch or allow it to expire. So just because the watch goes until 10, for instance, in Raleigh, does not mean that we're going to be under the gun for severe weather until 10 o'clock, okay? It's mainly for those counties that and cities that are east of here. So here's a new special weather statement. And this is for Scotland County, Lee County, Chatham, and Hoke, and also Harnett and Moore and Cumberland. Doppler radar tracking a cluster of strong thunderstorms 12 miles north of Rockingham, moving northeast to 35, wind gust to 40, and locations included are, let's see here, trying to get out, not mention the ones that are not in our area. Cameron in Moore County is one of them. So again, this is for a lot of the counties that are not in our area. Moore and Scotland and Harnett and Cumberland and Lee and Hoke and Southwest Chatham. And that special weather statement goes through 7:30. If there are any warnings issued, what you'll see on the display there is a yellow polygon. Polygon meaning a multi-sided shape. Doesn't necessarily have to be a square or a rectangle. The radar operator with the National Weather Service will determine what areas are most at risk and define the polygon accordingly. But there is quite a bit of cloud-to-ground lightning now moving across the middle of Chatham County. As you can see, those little lightning bolts there. Oh, and they just put out a warning. So let me go over that with you. Okay, severe thunderstorm warning issued at 6:28 for northeastern Lee, southwestern Wake County, and southeastern Chatham County, and that warning goes until 7:15. At 6:28, a severe thunderstorm was located 7 miles south of Pittsburgh, moving east at 40. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail are possible with this storm. Hail damage to vehicles is expected. Expect wind damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations impact included Crosswinds Boating Center, Raleigh, Crosswinds Campground, Lake Wheeler, New Hill, Holly Springs, William B. Umstead State Park, Lake Benson, Jordan Lake State Recreation Area, and Seaforth Boat Dock. All of those areas under a severe thunderstorm warning, and that warning expires at 7:15. And you can see that area outlined in yellow there. And I can zoom in here a little bit. And you can see the leading edge of this. Pittsburgh, you're definitely in the rain area right now, and most of the cloud-to-ground lightning strikes are to your south in the warning area. And again, the movement on this is from 248 degrees at 33 knots. So that is from the west-southwest, and 33 knots is about 37, 38 miles per hour. So moving from the west-southwest toward the east-northeast at about 38 miles per hour. 1-inch hail, maximum hail size 1 inch, and potential wind gusts to 60 miles per hour. And remember, you know, I don't know how many of you know this, but lightning, cloud-to-ground lightning, is not a criteria for a warning. Even though more people are killed by lightning every year than tornadoes and thunderstorms combined. But the main reason for that is the fact that it's generally assumed that people know that if there's lightning around that you shouldn't be outside or in a dangerous spot. Whereas it's sometimes not clear whether or not there are damaging winds impinging on your area, or tornadoes, or large hail. But lightning, the best thing to do obviously is to stay away from windows, and if you're outside, don't be near an isolated high object, because the lightning is going to be attracted to that highest point, and if you're near it, that can be a big problem. So I've often thought that maybe lightning density should be a criterion, criterion for a warning, that if there's so many strikes per unit area, that a warning would be issued accordingly for that. But that has not taken place to this date, and I doubt that it ever will. Okay, Kat says the sound is good for her. Oh, Deborah said difficult to hear me. Okay. Let's see here. Boy, I've got the gain on that turned all the way up. Let's see here. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll try to talk as loud as I can. See if I can move this thing here. No? Interesting. Oh, you know what the problem is? For crying in a bucket. This is embarrassing. The mic was over next to the laptop. How is that any better? It should be, at least a little bit. I certainly hope so. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you're far away from the mic. And you're right, WA, because the mic was back behind my laptop. Now it is connected to my shirt. This is what happens when you're not in the business for 6 years. You forget things like this. Much better. All right, cool. We'll get this figured out by the time I leave the planet. All right. So now those storms have definitely moved into the warning area now. And it's really interesting that there's such a large area of rain behind this thing that does not appear to be terribly convective in nature. There's a few cloud-to-ground lightning strikes in there, but no warnings with that I can see. Let me broaden the view here a little bit. Yeah, there's some lightning in there, but no warnings as of this particular point in time. And if anybody is on here from Patreon, let me know, because I posted a link that I was hoping would be able to allow you to access this stream. And it's funny, the chat box periodically disappears and then comes back. Oh, Jeff Johnson, you're nice. I appreciate that. So right now, only one warning in town, and that is for the storm coming out of Chatham and northern Lee County, about ready to move into Wake County. Won't be too much longer. And weather's going to get pretty nasty in southwestern Wake County here fairly. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you, G-Flow and Vivian. Great. Thanks, Donnie. Fantastic. Yeah, I was told that there was a setting about the hardware encoder, and once I changed that, then that seemed to have made all the difference. Because the first time I tried this, it was just an absolute disaster. So this is cool. Yeah, and Vicky says, I'm good with no lightning. Yeah, I am too. I still think lightning is God's most effective way of reminding people who's in control. That can be very, very scary. Let's see here. I've got lights in my face, and makes it hard to see the monitor. There we go. And a few more cities in there now. Not many, but yeah. Hey, look at that. I've got Apex, Holly Springs, Garner. All right. Oh, there's a little bit of, yeah, let me stop this here. Let me stop the animation. You see that little purple area right in there? That's probably hail. When you get really high amounts of reflectivity, water-coated hail reflects the radar signal very effectively. We can also look at another product here called the correlation coefficient. And right in that area, there are a variety of different sizes of objects the radar is hitting. If you see the dark purple colors and they're uniform, it means that whatever the radar is hitting, just about everything is a similar size. But if you start getting into the yellows, then it means that there are different size objects being hit, and that could be rain and hail. And so that lines up very, very nicely, that area right in there with the high reflectivity. And I'm just going to check velocity just to make sure there's nothing strange going on here. Well, keep an eye on that area right in here. The radar is here, and I'm going to try to illustrate this. The radial is going out, boy, like this. So if you have green behind red, that's convergence. In other words, that's air coming in like this and air going out like that. But if you have red and green like this, like instead of front and back, side to side, then that is rotation. And so we'll keep an eye on that area. And if I go back to the reflectivity, can you see how there's just a little bit of an indentation there? Let me turn this back on. Right in there. That, many times what that is it's called an inflow notch, where the updraft of the thunderstorm is so strong that it's suspending raindrops aloft. So in the lowest elevation, you're not seeing any raindrops, but above that, you are. So let me go up a few tilts here. Okay, a little bit. That's what we call overhang, where if you look up at a higher tilt and there's rain being detected, but underneath that it's not, then that's usually indicative of a strong updraft. So keep an eye on that area. No tornado warning or anything like that right now, just something to watch. And again, we're seeing more and more of these purple areas here, which indicate a good chance of hail. And that is in extreme northern Lee County, well north of Sanford, and extending up into Chatham County to the south of Pittsburgh. And I'll animate this again so you can see how it's moving. There you go. And I'll take that little cartoon off. And I can change the, I believe I can change the length of the loop to a lesser number of frames. So let me drop this down to maybe 12. And then it should reinitiate the loop. There we go. Recapping, for those of you that have just joined, the severe thunderstorm warning in effect for portions of Chatham, Lee, and Wake County. Okay, here's another warning that has just come out. And by the way, the National Weather Service provides a great service to those of us that do this. It's a product called NWS Chat, National Weather Service Chat. And we have access to their warnings literally as soon as they issue them. So thanks so much to the local National Weather Service office for providing that service. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect until 7:15 for northeastern Lee, southwestern Wake, and southeastern Chatham County. Severe thunderstorm located 8 miles southeast of Pittsburgh, moving east at 30. And the same areas that I mentioned earlier are still under that warning, and that goes until 7:15 as the only warning in effect right now. A lot of lightning with that as well. And just now getting the first part of this getting into western Wake County. And I'm going to take another look at the velocity there. Okay, right now, that looks like more convergence than rotation, but it's close. It's very close. You see that the greens there, those are going toward the radar, the reds are going away. And if I draw a line right along that boundary. And then go over here to reflectivity. Okay, it just updated, but that was right along the leading edge. Get rid of that. And I posted earlier, for those of you on Patreon, that the low-level wind shear pattern was not as impressive with this event as some of the other events we've had so far this spring. And what I mean by that is that if the winds are turning in direction in a clockwise manner, in other words, like if you had a southeast wind at the surface and a south wind 1,000 feet above the surface and a south-southwest wind 2,000 feet above the surface and a southwest wind 3,000 feet above the surface, we call that a veering wind. It is turning clockwise, and a veering wind profile is favorable to create rotating updrafts within a thunderstorm. Now, just because you have a rotating updraft doesn't necessarily mean you get a tornado, but it does usually mean that you're going to get damaging straight line winds and or hail out of that particular storm. And then, of course, if everything falls into place, then you can get tornadoes along with that. But I did one of my bonus weather videos last week about using hodographs, where you actually plot the wind direction at all these different levels from the origin. It's called a polar plot. And if the ends of those wind vectors turn significantly or curve significantly, that is usually a sign of a favorable pattern for tornadoes. But this particular pattern is not as conducive to that as some others that we've had so far this season. But the instability is greater. And what do I mean by instability? Well, if an air parcel near the ground gets heated and it's buoyant, warmer than its environment, as long as it is warmer than its environment, it will accelerate upward and will keep accelerating upward until the temperature of the environment and the temperature of that air parcel are the same. And we have more of that today than we've had in any other event so far this spring. So the wind shear, not as impressive, the instability, more impressive. And that's why I sort of felt like, well, another one of those situations where some of it looks threatening, other parts not as threatening. And as you can see, some of that lightning is now moving into western Wake County, right along the Chatham County line, Chatham County line. And I'll broaden the view here a little bit so you can see what else is going on. That's some pretty darn heavy rain that you see falling back toward Asheboro and Carthage and down toward Red Springs. And some cloud-to-ground lightning with that, but no warnings as of this moment. And we were in a level 3 risk today on a scale of 1 to 5, and I always worry about the percentages that the Storm Prediction Center puts out being misinterpreted. For instance, for damaging winds today, they listed the probability at 30%. And that doesn't sound like much, but the climatological probability of damaging winds on any given March 31st is about 0.2%. And so if you compare it with that, it's much greater than your run-of-the-mill probability on March 31st. And so with any severe weather event, even if it's a widespread tornado outbreak, the chance of a tornado that's very damaging going over top of your house, right over top of your house, is small by definition. But if it does come over your house and you have done nothing to prepare yourself for that, you're in big trouble. And so what I tell people, or tried to tell people over the years, is there are such things as low probability, high impact events. And if tornado warning is issued for your area, you go to your safe spot. You go to your basement, your interior closet, bathroom, whatever. And if you stay there 20 minutes and nothing happens, don't be mad, be thankful. But many, many more times than not, you will go to that safe spot and no damage will occur to your house. But again, the one time that it does, if you're not prepared, that could be your last time. And so that's why I always tell people to take these warnings like it's coming right for you, and it's going to be bad. And if it isn't, that's a good thing. Okay, let's zoom back in here. And that activity continues to move farther into Wake County. You might see that little lightning bolt right there, way out ahead of the main line, and that can happen. It doesn't have to be raining to have a cloud-to-ground lightning bolt strike. In fact, there are such things as bolts from the blue that can occur even behind a thunderstorm when the sky's brightening up and you think, oh, it's over, and you go outside and all of a sudden that something strikes very near you. And so it's always a good idea to wait about 15 or 20 minutes before you haven't heard thunder, before you go outside. And how many of us do that? How many of us just say, well, it looks like it's getting a little better, I don't think I'll risk it. And most times you'll get away with it. But again, the one time you don't. And by the way, if anybody's curious about the label there at the bottom of the screen called Curtis, Curtis is a good buddy of mine. He's a weather enthusiast. And I asked him one time if he could share his address. But that's as detailed as I'm going to get. I'm not going to give you any more specifics than that. But Curtis is a good guy. I actually met him on the top of Roan Mountain, 6,000 feet above sea level last February. Not this past February, February before that. And at 6,000 feet in February, we were looking for snow and it was raining. At 6,000 feet above sea level in February. That was depressing. Very, very depressing. Okay. Let's go back to our correlation coefficient here and see what we have. Okay, about the same. And checking the, by the way, do you see here there's a velocity and a storm relative velocity? The storm relative velocity is you subtract the motion of the storm out and then you see what's left. And so you're looking at the environment from the storm's perspective, okay? If you take into account the movement of the storm, then you're getting the overall flow pattern the storm is embedded in. But if you want to know the environment the storm is experiencing, then you subtract out that motion. And sometimes you can see more clearly rotation as opposed to looking at the total wind field. So if I take a look at storm relative velocity, again, we've got outbound winds here and inbound winds here, so there's pretty good convergence right along that line. I will draw a line. Oops, no. There we go. I don't know why it's not allowing me to select that pen. Oh, there we go. Okay. So there's that boundary, and then we'll go back to reflectivity. And you see it's right along the leading edge of it. So as soon as that heavy rain area moves in, then the winds shift direction fairly dramatically. Okay, nothing new from the National Weather Service. Warning in effect for another 23 minutes. And again, if you're in this area in Chatham County, just to the southeast of Pittsboro, the threat of severe weather for you is over. And they'll probably cancel that part of the warning shortly. So Holly Springs, getting close to you. Apex, getting very close to you. Cary. Okay, looks like we have, let's see what this is here. Okay. Okay, they just did what I was just talking about. You see how the box, which did extend out in here, now only extends to here? So the Weather Service is canceling the warning as the threat of severe weather pushes eastward. The latest statement, severe thunderstorm warning for northeastern Lee County is canceled. The severe thunderstorm which prompted the warning has moved out of the warned area, therefore the warning has been canceled, but it remains in effect, or the watch remains in effect until 10. And the severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect until 7:15 for southwestern Wake and east central Chatham counties. And when they say a severe thunderstorm is located near a spot, like in this particular situation, they said it was near Cary, they actually take a look at something called the mass centroid of the cell. And that's where the center of mass is, and that's how you track the storm, is by looking at how the center of mass is moving. But that does not mean that the impact is local to that specific spot. It obviously impacts a much bigger area than that. Well, we got 291 views so far. I think last time I did this, they saw how much trouble I was having, and as soon as they joined, they left. So I appreciate those of you that are hanging in there with me. And again, to broaden the view, I think I need to turn that off. There we go. And what I can do, now it looks like there's another line of storms that may be forming back here. What I can do is look at other radars. So this is the Blacksburg, Virginia radar up here. So they have a little bit better perspective on that developing line. And then the Greenville, Spartanburg radar. Not much going on in southwestern North Carolina. And then the Morristown, Tennessee radar. Now this is with the actual cold front. Okay, this stuff that's coming in here right now has nothing to do with the front at all. But this one back here in eastern Tennessee and extreme southwestern North Carolina, that is the actual cold front. And that probably won't get to the triangle area until maybe midnight or shortly thereafter. And hopefully we will have lost enough instability at that point that we won't have to worry about that line being severe. But it will be watched, I promise you that. And these, the radar IDs that start with T, those are terminal Doppler radars at airports. And of course, planes are very interested in what the wind shear pattern is like as they're coming in for landings. And so those terminal Dopplers don't have a great range, but they give the pilots a really good idea of what's going on around the airport grounds. And it allows them to take off and land much more safely than they would be able to without it. Okay, Donnie had a comment. He said, with the split in the front, there looks to be a dry area behind the front in Pittsboro. Does that mean the energy is dying out? Not really. It simply means that it's dying out in Pittsboro because of the rain and the fact that that cooled the air and stabilized it. But ahead of that line, there's still plenty of oomph for these storms to feed off of. And that's a pretty typical scenario, is that once it rains and cools the air, then the chance of getting additional development is usually pretty small, unless you have a very strong system in the upper atmosphere that is causing significant lift in the atmosphere. The lift that we're getting ahead of this line of thunderstorms is mainly due to buoyancy. But you can also have what we call dynamic lifting, by a very strong system in the upper atmosphere that causes that upward motion. So that's about the only way that you can get something bad happening behind the main line is if you have that forcing going on. But it's a good question. Why was the pollen season delayed? I have no idea. That is not my area of expertise. I wish I could help you more with that. Okay, so Ryan said he's sending his drone up near Lake Wheeler ahead of this line to get some good video and pictures. I'll send some to you if they turn out good. That'd be great. That would be great. Okay, so let's go back to the radar nearby. There we go. And I'll turn the radar IDs off so we can get the towns back in there. And the Mets are losing 1-0. I try to keep up with everything. Let's zoom in here. It should be pouring right now in Cary, Apex, and Holly Springs. And I still have not dropped any frames. Boy, that is very different than last time. So thankful for that. And it looks like the lightning may be decreasing a little bit. Not quite as many strikes there as there were earlier. Let me show you how things are moving. And there's still a couple of pixels there, a couple of purple pixels, but not quite as many. And that area is to the southeast of Apex. And maybe one more pixel up here near Apex. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're seeing some hail in those regions. The Weather Service is now saying there's a chance of the hail being 1.25 inches in diameter. That's the worst case scenario for Chatham and Wake, mainly Wake at this point. Yeah, it looks like Chatham County, you're pretty much clear now. Still rain, but no threat of severe weather. And I have not gotten any damage reports at all, although sometimes those are delayed. They're not really reported in real time. So we may, if there has been any wind damage, we may not know about that for a while. I certainly hope that, wouldn't it be nice if this was the only warning all night? Keep our fingers crossed. Looks like Fuquay has not gotten in on the act quite yet. So far, the worst of it has gone just north of there. Got some lightning strikes out ahead of the main line. By the way, had a good friend come down here today from Raleigh, and we played golf, and he always beats me, but I actually made him sweat a little bit today.
Oh, gosh.
And he's,
Oh, my gosh.
and he's sitting in the other room. Oh, we got more pixels now, those purple pixels. So greater chance of hail right in here. Also, it looks like there's a little bit of shower activity east of Raleigh. Not severe at all, but just sort of a renegade shower out ahead of the main area. And I want to take a look at that velocity. What I can do, folks, is do this. And there we go. So on the right is the storm relative velocity, and on the left is the reflectivity. Now right in here, okay, it's nothing too scary, but it's showing inbound winds of up to 35 miles an hour. And that just shifted. I hope this is nothing to worry about right here. It's got a red and a green pixel adjacent to each other, but it looks like that may be an artifact of the radar and not any real rotation, but we'll keep an eye on that. And see, as I move that cursor, it moves on both sides of the screen. So, okay, local storm report. Thunderstorm wind damage. 2 miles. Hold everything here. 2 miles south-southeast of Moncure in Chatham County. Thunderstorm wind damage. Trees down along the roadway of Lower River Road and Reagan Road. Those of you in that area are familiar with those roads. Lower River Road and Reagan Road, there's a tree down along the roadway there. And that is at, let's see if I can't get this down to the point here, 35.6 north. See my Latin long there at the top? Okay, there's 35.6 north and 79.07 west. Oh wow, I'm gonna have to move this whole thing over. 79.07 west. It's about there. And the latitude was 35.6. So right about in that area there. If I've got the, yeah. Okay, this looks like this may be a new warning. National Weather Service of Raleigh has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Granville. Yep, there it is. Okay, let me go back to the single pane. There we go. So this one is for southeastern Granville, northeastern Wake, east central Durham, and Franklin County. At 7:07, a severe thunderstorm was located near Wake Forest, or 9 miles southeast of Creedmoor, moving east at 35. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-sized hail are possible with this storm. Locations impacted include Rollsville, Falls Lake State Recreational Area, Ingleside, Youngsville, Wake Forest, Falls Lake Boat Ramp, Purnell, Lewisburg, and Franklinton. All of those areas under a severe thunderstorm warning until 7:45. 1-inch hail and potential 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So there's that little small area here where one warning is in effect until 7:15 and the other warning is in effect until 7:45. And if I put this, if I animate this, you see how all this is new development out ahead of the main area. That's all blown up just in the last 10 or 15 minutes. And you notice how the shape of the polygon, they cut it off right at the Wake-Nash County line. Or I'm sorry, the Franklin-Nash County line. And they'll often do that just so somebody near the border isn't getting conflicting information. So again, there are 2 warnings in effect now. The southern one, and by the way, this the leading edge of that very heavy rain okay, hold on here. Okay. Okay, so there's a third severe thunderstorm warning now, and this is in effect for southwestern Nash, central Wake, west central Wilson, and northern Johnston, and south central Franklin. At 7:09, a severe thunderstorm was located near Garner or near Cary, moving east at 35, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and half-dollar-sized hail. Locations impacted include Pilot, Rollsville, Raleigh, Lake Wheeler, William B. Umstead State Park, Zebulon, Flowers, Lake Benson, Bunn, and Clayton. Again, the severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Nash, Wake, Wilson, Johnston, and Franklin counties, and that warning goes until 8 o'clock. So there are now 3 warnings at this particular moment that are all in effect at the same time. And the leading edge of that is right over downtown Raleigh now. And I'll broaden the view here just a little bit so we can get that centered up. Yellow polygons are severe thunderstorm warnings. If you were to see a red polygon, that would be a tornado warning. So those are all severe thunderstorm warnings at this particular point in time. And really, if you look at that, all 3 warnings are a result of the same cluster of storms that is now about halfway across Wake County, just stretching into extreme southern Vance County, or I'm sorry, Granville County. I'm trying to learn here on my controls here. The chat periodically disappears and it's replaced with stats about how many people have viewed and how many are watching right now. And then the chat will suddenly come back. So if you chat something and I'm not responding to it, it's because I don't see it right now. But I promise you that when it comes back, I will do my best to address it. And that steady rain area behind the main line is now moving into Wake County and covers much of Chatham County and about half of Orange County. It's like the lightning's picking up again, especially in northern Wake and southern Granville County.
A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for your location.
Well, that's an alert I just got for where I live, down here in Myrtle Beach. By the way, folks, just while we have a second here, I am trying my best to move back to Raleigh, or at least in the area. I've just had a dickens of a time selling my condo here, and the market is down a little bit, and compared to when I bought it 4 years ago, property values are much higher, interest rates are higher, HOA dues are much higher, and it's not a very attractive time to sell. But that is my goal, to get back to the Triangle as soon as I can. Got to be raining pretty hard in Raleigh right now, especially downtown. And it looks like one of those warnings, yep, the warning that expired at 7:15 has been allowed to, or ended at 7:15, has been allowed to expire. So we now have 2 warnings in effect, one until 7:45 and the other until 8. Just to recap, the warning that is until 7:45 includes areas like Rollsville, Falls Lake State Recreation Area, Ingleside, Youngsville, Wake Forest, Falls Lake Boat Ramp, Purnell, Lewisburg, and Franklinton. And the warning that is in effect until 8 o'clock includes areas such as Pilot, Rollsville, Raleigh, Lake Wheeler, William B. Umstead State Park, Zebulon, Flowers, Lake Benson, Bunn, and Clayton. So this warning up here until 7:45, this one down here until 8. And I can actually click on this and it'll give me the key information. Expires in 43 minutes, 1.25 inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. And then if I click on that little I, then that gives you the full text of the warning. This program, by the way, is called Radar Scope. And there's several different layers or tiers, subscription tiers. I believe that the smallest one is, I think it's $9 a month? Not trying to remember. I went on ahead and got the bells and whistles version, which has archive data, because if there's something that occurred in the past that I want to look at, then I can do that. But for the general lay people, there's no need to do that unless you're just a nerd like I am. And let's, just for the heck of it, let's take a look at how this line behind this area is doing. And we'll take a look at Blacksburg, Virginia radar. Yeah, no warnings with it. That's some pretty heavy rains. And then out here with the actual cold front, that line is just about ready to, or is getting very close to the North Carolina-Tennessee border. Looks like the greatest density of lightning right now is up in northwestern Wake County, just north of the airport, and on into southeastern Granville County. And some very, very heavy rain into parts of Franklin County right now. Wake Forest, you're probably seeing some pretty heavy stuff. And Raleigh as well. And remember, the radar is down here. If you've ever driven out Highway 70 toward Clayton, there are 2 big TV towers out there. hold everything here, just got an update. The severe thunderstorm watch that was in effect until 10 o'clock has been canceled for 10 counties, including Alamance, which is where Burlington is, Scotland, which is where Laurinburg is, Guilford, where Greensboro is. But it remains in effect for Chatham, Durham, Edgecombe, Granville, Halifax, Hoke, Johnston, Moore, Nash, Person, Sampson, Wake, Warren, Wilson, Cumberland, Franklin, Harnett, Lee, Orange, Vance, and Wayne counties. Ah, Jack came back. Let's see. The Lady Kara, thank you for providing the best weather coverage my entire conscious life. LOL. Well, I hope most of your life has been conscious. It would be a real tragedy if it was. But thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, let's see. Yes, I have heard of IEM Bot. In fact, I met the guy that wrote the original program for that. He's out at Iowa State, or at least he was at Iowa State University near Des Moines. And I'm having trouble remembering his name right now, but he has done some incredible stuff with that website. I mean, it's just, and it's not only good for current stuff, but it's great for research, for looking at past events. It's, I actually am doing some part-time work right now for a forensic meteorology firm that provides testimony in court for weather-related cases. And a lot of the tools on that website we use in doing the research. So yeah, it's great stuff. Phenomenal stuff. Okay. Lady Kara said, I could see a nice inflow cloud towards Harnett County from Main Street in Holly Springs. Nikki said, I'm grateful for the car wash. And Todd says he loves RadarScope. It is a wonderful, wonderful program. Every National Weather Service Doppler radar and terminal Doppler radar is accessible with this program. And the number of products that you can look at is just phenomenal. Let's see, Pete says, I have your ex-weather people on mute and listening to you. Oh, I'm not going to repeat that. But at least as it relates to me, Pete, I appreciate that. I will tell you that Chris Michaels, who's one of the newest team members, I've known him since my son Austin, who is now 30, was in high school at Holly Springs High School. What would that have been, like 14 years ago? They were both in the percussion section together, and then they played together at NC State for a number of years in the marching band there. And Chris is as nice a guy as you will ever meet, and he's very talented, not only meteorologically, but he does some really cool stuff on social media. And WRAL is very, very lucky to have him. So I wanted to give him a shout out. Not everybody on TV is as nice as they appear on the air, but a few are, and he's one of them. Yeah, Vicky says, I like Chris. So do I. Okay, so 2 warnings 1 till 7:45, 1 till 8, and it is now 7:24. Eastern Daylight Time. And by the way, for you Patreon folks, this is going to substitute for the videos that I normally do. For those of you that are watching that are not familiar with that, if I could put in a shameless plug, about 3 years ago I started a subscription service on Patreon, which is a platform for that. And if you go to patreon.com/fishweather, all one word, FISHWEATHER, I do videos Monday through Friday. I do a short version, which is just the forecast, which is usually out by 5, and then a extended version, which goes into much more detail about the science behind the forecast. But I always do the forecast first, so if you don't have time or no interest in all the other stuff, you don't have to sit through it. And then 3 times a week I have a bonus weather video, which really goes into the science, and that's for the true weather nerd. But it's $3 a month for the basic, $5 a month for the bonus, and you can cancel at any time if you decide you're not using it or you just don't like it. There's no obligation to continue, but I would appreciate it if you'd give it a try. Yeah, Ryan says, Chris Michaels is a real weather nerd. I like him a lot. Yes, he is. Okay. This, I got to be honest with you. Oh, thank you, Kat. So anyone here not subscribed to his Patreon, if you love weather, I definitely recommend it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was just going to say that back in the day, Mike Mays and I, whenever we had severe weather going on, we tag teamed a lot. And when I ran out of things to say, I would pitch it to him. And when he ran out of things to say, he would pitch it to me. But when you're a one-man band, sometimes it's challenging to come up with things to keep talking about. Let's see. My eyes are giving me a little trouble here. Is that Gizzy? Gizzy McBride? Thunder? I don't know where you are, Gizzy, but thank you for relaying that. So eastern Wake County has the thunderstorms now. The western portions of Wake County are just getting a fairly steady rain with no severe threat. In fact, the west edge of those warning boxes, and these lights shining at me are so bright. I'm trying to enable the telestrator. Is that it? Yes, it is. Okay. I would say that if I drew a line like this, west of that line, even though you're technically in the warning, the threat of severe weather is over, at least for this line. And for this one here, if you're west of Youngsville and Wake Forest, your threat of severe weather is over. And I'm sure you'll see those boxes shrink here very, very shortly. I'm going to check on my guest. Doc, are you doing all right?
I'm just reading, man.
Okay. Doc has been well, that's his nickname. His real name is Jerry Markosh, but he's been the band director at Athens Drive High School 31 years.
Yep.
And he's retiring at the end of this year. And let's see here. I'll never forget the first time I met him. It's when my son Austin was transferring to Athens from Holly Springs. And I wanted to make sure he didn't think I was a complete idiot when it came to music. And we got to be very, very good friends and have maintained that friendship for, gosh, what, 2011, Doc?
Oh my God, I don't
something like that. 14 years. Oh, here is a mesoscale discussion from the Storm Prediction Center. Let's see what that has. The risk of severe wind gusts around 60 miles an hour continues to increase across portions of severe thunderstorm watch area number 90. Radar data from the Raleigh-Durham radar depicts recent intensification of a north-south oriented line segment tracking east-northeast at around 30 knots. The inflow for these storms is characterized by middle to upper 70s temperatures and lower 60s dew points beneath modest mid-level lapse rates. I think we may have a new warning here. No, it's just a continuation, I'm sorry. Okay, back to this. This combined with around 40 knots of 0 to 6 kilometer shear, what that means is from the ground to 6 kilometers, the wind is increasing by 40 knots, should support a continued risk of severe wind gusts around 60 miles an hour, given the linear mode established cold pool. The cold pool is the cold air generated by the thunderstorm activity. Trends are also being monitored for a possible downstream watch into southeastern Virginia. And it says most probable peak tornado intensity up to 95 miles per hour, most probable peak wind gust 55 to 70, and most probable peak hail size up to 1.25 inches.
A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
But again, there have been no indications of tornadoes to this point. Oh wow, Epic Dev says thunder just struck, or lightning just struck the house. Oh, and Scott, is that Hester? Is an Athens Drive graduate from '82. And Barry Schaefer notes that the boxes have shrunk as predicted. I've known Barry a long time. Thanks for... And Rusty Mangum says, was this event really worthy of a level 3? Well, Rusty, the thing is, sometimes the differences between these things turning out to be a big deal and not turning out to be a big deal are very, very subtle. And I guarantee you, if they had put it as a level 1 and we had ended up with a whole bunch of damage reports, the National Weather Service would have been crucified for that. The science is not to the point yet where we can definitively say, given a certain set of conditions, that we will get this many damage reports or whatever. I think it's always better to err on the side of safety, but I can promise you this, I can say this without any doubt in my mind, nobody that works for the Storm Prediction Center or the National Weather Service office in Raleigh even knows what the word hype means. It isn't even in their vocabulary. Period, end of discussion. And one very frustrating thing that is going on right now, and I'm sure that some of you will interpret this as a political statement, and I do not intend it to be as such, but some of the budget cuts that have been taking place with NOAA have now stopped weather balloons from being launched across certain parts of the country, and that data is critical to numerical model forecasts. And I am all for eliminating government waste, but you do not recklessly and abandonedly, or what's the word I'm looking for? You don't recklessly cut stuff without knowing the value of it. And at least in the case of NOAA, that is exactly what has happened. And it is nothing less than a crime. Oh, okay. You said Epic said I meant lightning struck close to my house, and that's why the thunder was so loud. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, the Kimberly said no local TV stations are showing anything. We used to go back and forth on this a lot because if we interrupted programming during a major sporting event for a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, oh my goodness, did the switchboard lit or light? And of course, it was usually from people that weren't affected by the warning. The people that were affected were thankful for the coverage, but it would be nice if we could only cut into programming for areas specifically that were affected by the warning, but I don't think that's possible. Okay, so only one warning is in effect for Wake County, and it's really only the extreme eastern part now. The threat of severe weather in Raleigh itself is over. But Knightdale and Zebulon, you still have to. Yeah, Epic said, I'm actually starting to collect NOAA weather radios. I have 2 so far. They're quite loud when they activate for an alert. Yes, they are. And this is the thing. The thing that's so great about a NOAA weather radio, and it used to be that if a warning was issued anywhere within 50 miles of you, that thing went off. And that was bad news because people were getting needlessly awakened in the middle of the night. Now you can program it right down to your area. So if an alert goes off, it is for you. And you know, you don't have your TV on at 3 in the morning, you're sound asleep. And so if something unexpectedly happens, the NOAA weather radio is a great way to be awakened and give you time to take action to protect yourself. Yes. He talked about the fact that the radio has SAME programming, which allows you to customize it for your specific area. And they're not that expensive, but it's a very, very good investment. Oh, and Lady Kara says that she tunes into Central Carolina Skywarn, which is on the ham radio network. And those are volunteers that are out in the field reporting what they see. And it's called the Skywarn Activation Network, where the network is activated. And those people are invaluable. Because the Earth is curved, the radar beam gets higher and higher off the ground as it goes out. And so sometimes it doesn't see things that are going on right at the ground, especially at some distance from the radar. And there is no substitute for human eyeballs to tell you what is going on at a specific location. So human beings still have a role. AI is not going to change weather observers' value. And wouldn't it be nice if those warnings just expired in 22 minutes? And that was it? Let's, while we have a chance here, let's go back. This one doesn't really look like it's intensifying at all. Okay, so there's the one that Blacksburg was looking at. So that's now coming into range for the Raleigh radar. And then you have the one back here with the cold front. And I can't actually show this. I'll just have to describe it to you. But I have a program on my phone called AeroWeather, AeroWeather. And if you are willing to go to the trouble, you can create groups of airports. And I have one set up for the Southeast US. And it can either give me the raw data in text form or it can plot a map. So I'm going to look at that map right now. Okay, what do we got here? Hold on. Weather Service in Raleigh has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Warren County, northern Nash, Halifax, and northeastern Franklin until 8:30. At 7:38, a severe thunderstorm was located 7 miles northeast of Lewisburg, moving east at 50. That's moving pretty quick. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, quarter-sized hail. Locations impacted include Roanoke Rapids, Enfield, Glenview, Ingleside. Is that Medic Mountain State Park? Avonton, Tillery, Halifax, Centerville, and Weldon. And so that warning is in effect until 8:30, and that is for portions of Warren, Nash, Halifax, and Franklin counties. And the maximum hail size 1 inch and maximum wind gusts 60. And that is this bigger warning here. Let me get rid of the, there we go. That's a big warning. And you only get them that big when they're moving fast, because between now and 8:30, it's going to cover that entire chunk of real estate. Let me make sure I'm back on the right radar here. There we go. And you can see that it's actually stopped raining altogether in western Orange, western half of Chatham County, Sanford. The rain's over for the time being. So this is moving along at a pretty good clip. So we'll keep an eye on Nightdale and Zebulon as this complex moves through there. Oh, so I want to go back to my map. I don't know if you can, you probably can't. You see how dense the observations are there? There we go. But I can zoom in. And for instance, at Charlotte, where are you, Charlotte? I know you're here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Charlotte is 66 with a dew point of 60. Dew point is still 61 at Gastonia. And if you go all the way out to Asheville, the wind has shifted to the northwest. So the front is through there. The dew point is dropping. And the dew points have dropped into the 50s in parts of western North Carolina. Okay. So still pretty much a southwest flow across most of the state at this point. So far, we've had 596 views. And I have dropped 14 frames now. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, local storm report. In Youngsville, multiple trees down around the Youngsville area along Holden Road. And a power line is down near the intersection of West College Street and West Noble Street in Lewisburg. So the first one was multiple trees down around the Youngsville area, along Holden Road, and the second one was power lines down near the intersection of West College Street and West Noble Street in Lewisburg. So a couple of reports from Franklin County there. And that's right underneath this most intense activity. We'll take a look at the velocity just to see what's going on there with that. Looks like there's a little strip here. Well, now this is interesting. Hold on. Now that appears to be convergence. No, actually divergence. This may be a downburst right here because the radar is, hold on, I want to make sure I'm not missing something here. Okay, that's just a continuation of the severe thunderstorm warning for Johnston, Wake, Wilson, and Franklin, and Nash County. It runs until 8. The radial is going out like this, okay? And so you've got outbounds, outbounds here, so these are going like this, and these winds are going like this. So when you get a downburst and the wind descends to the ground, or the air descends to the ground, it spreads out in all directions. So if you get divergence like that, that can be indicative of a downburst. And so that may be what's happening just to the west of Zebulon right now. And there's quite a bit of lightning with that as well. So those of you that are in Zebulon at the moment might want to keep a very close watch on things. Here's another storm report. And this one is back in Chatham County, near Moncure. Tree down near the intersection of New Elam, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, New Elam Road and Thunder Valley Road. A tree down near the intersection of New Elam Road and Thunder Valley Road in Chatham County near Moncure. And that was at 6:40, about an hour ago. 4 miles northeast of Moncure, to be exact. Yeah, this is interesting because notice how most of the area that I'm looking at right here is green, and then you have that red area sort of embedded in the middle of it, which are outbound winds. And the radar, some of you may or may not know this, the radar can only measure winds directly toward or directly away from it. So if you have a wind that is blowing 100 miles per hour and it's perpendicular to the radar beam, it shows up as 0. And that's why it's important to have a network of radars, because every radar is looking at a specific cell from a different perspective, and you don't want a radar that is showing 0 when the wind is 100. You don't want to let that make you miss something. Back to the reflectivity. Yep, plenty of purple pixels there, so good likelihood of some hail. And that's just now moving into Zebulon. Wendell is actually near the back edge of it. Bun, you're about to get in on this. Lewisburg, you've still got a good bit of rain to go through, but the worst of the weather is over where you are. Centerville, you're right in the middle of it right now. And pretty strong thunderstorm activity out there in southern Warren County. That's why the warning's in effect there. That does not include Warrenton or Norlina or Macon or Soul City. So the warning that went until 7:45 has expired. The one that goes till 8, which is that little box, expires at 8 o'clock. And the other one that goes from Franklin County all the way over to the border of Halifax and Northampton County, that's still got about 40 minutes to go. But remember that that entire area is not at risk until 8:30. In fact, the western part of that box or that polygon is in the clear now. And that next batch out toward Reedsville and Danville does not appear to be intensifying. And Chatham County, Lee County, rain's over. Maybe might still be a sprinkle or two in the eastern part of the county, but that's it. Most of Orange County has settled down. Person County, you've still got some fairly heavy rain in the southern part of the county, but from Roxborough north, not too bad. Western half of Harnett County is clear. Not clear, but clear of severe weather threat. Fayetteville, you're on the back edge of things now. Only part of Cumberland County that needs to worry about anything is the extreme southeastern corner. That's some healthy looking stuff there over Zebulon. A lot of lightning, very heavy rain, maybe some hail. A little bit of a pixel query here, see what we're picking up. Not quite 40 miles an hour. And by the way, now this is storm relative. Let me switch to the regular velocity display. Okay, so when you look at this, you see where it says KRAX, that's where the radar is located. And you notice that there are greens all out in here to the southwest of the radar, and reds off to the north and east. So these are going away, these are coming toward. So you can look at this and say at the radar site, the wind's coming out of the southwest. It's coming in here, going out here. And then you have a zero velocity line that runs like this. You see that sort of a gray area right in between the reds and the greens? Okay, so think about it. If the wind and the radar is right here, if the wind is blowing like this, and the radar beam is looking at it like this, it's perpendicular to the radar beam, and so the reason the velocity is zero is that there's no component of the wind either toward or away from the radar. So that is something you need to be very careful with. Of course, back when I first got into the business, we didn't have Doppler radars. In fact, the one at Raleigh was not installed, if I'm remembering correctly. Was it the mid-90s? I think that was about when it came online. Vicki said she was hoping for more rain.
A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued.
Keep issuing warnings down here. Epic Dev says, Thunder Valley, how ironic. So, Bryce Wilson says storm just passed Wendell, 46 hundredths of an inch of rain, highest wind gust 19. That's not going to knock anything over. All right, Barry, you take care of yourself if you're still with us here. Yeah, Ray Price said he's 4 miles from the switchover from Raleigh to Newport weather offices. He uses Skywarn to keep in touch with upstream and downstream weather from him. If the weather is bad for me, it will be bad for Newport. There are actually several NOAA weather radio transmitters all across North Carolina, and your radio, and there are different frequencies. I think it's 162.4, 162.475, 162.55 megahertz. And so you pick the one that is closest to you, you tune your radio to that frequency, and that's how you're kept up to date. So the worst of it appears to be departing Zebulon now. So only the extreme eastern part of Wake County is still has any threat of anything severe. And the other warning up to the north, oh, what'd I do there? There we go. There we go. Yeah, Centerville, you're raining, but the worst is behind you. Warrenton's got some good rain coming down right now. And there's the big picture. We'll keep an eye on that, the area out around Danville and Reedsville and northwest of Greensboro. It hasn't shown any signs of intensification yet, but
Lightning has been detected
there's
near
still
your
time.
location.
But usually this initial bit of activity will stabilize the atmosphere enough so that the ensuing activity will not be as bad. Rocky Mountain, you're still awaiting this activity, as is Enfield. And I think, let's see if I can't, okay, just checking some. This is the storm total estimate of rainfall so far. And if I do a pixel query on that, you can see these, some of the heavier cells have a nice, you can see how it's tracked. Down here in just west of Moore County, it's estimating about 1.25 inches. Right over Raleigh, about 0.62. Let's see, up here to the northwest of Durham, 81 hundredths. I'm just moving along here. It's funny, every time the lightning begins to decrease, it seems to rejuvenate a little bit. So that warning that's in effect until 8 has 1 minute to go. probably either let that expire or replace it with a new one.
A severe thunderstorm
Really coming
warning
down
has
here now. I can hear it outside. All right. If and when we get to the point where there are no warnings in effect, then I will sign off at that point. I actually have a band rehearsal Monday night from 7 to 9. I was hoping to get to some of that, but I don't think that's going to work out because right now this is more important. Okay, Roanoke Rapids, you're under that warning until 8:30, but the activity is still not to you yet, and I can tell you how many miles away it is. You're about 15 and a half miles, 15.2 miles from the leading edge. And with that moving over 30 miles an hour, that would imply that in less than a half hour, it will be where you are. And you see that other box disappeared. So just one warning now, and that is for portions of Franklin, Nash, Halifax, and Warren. And I think it would be fair to say that if I drew a line something like this, that this part of the warning around Lewisburg and over towards Centerville, that you're in the clear. That box will probably shrink before too long. Bon, it looks like your weather is either improving or about to improve.
lightning has been detected near your location.
The weather god down here, as some of you know, is Ed Piotrowski. And Ed is a graduate of NC State with a degree in meteorology, and I first met him in the early 1990s when he was in school there. And his wife is my real estate agent, Cindy, and they are two of the nicest people you will ever meet. And Ed doesn't believe in hype any more than I do. We are two peas in a pod when it comes to that. Oh, Lady Kara says it's pronounced Medoc. I think I said medic, so thank you. Here's the local storm report. Oh, it's the same one. Looks like they reissued it. That's the one near New Elam Road and Thunder Valley Road in Chatham County near Moncure. I was going to look at one thing here for you. if I can spell. Okay, and I was just going to check the overall temperature forecast for late in the week. We talked late last week about some of the hottest weather of the year so far coming in. And the American model, the GFS, has a high of, and it tends to run cool, so you can add a few degrees onto this, but 67 tomorrow, 68 Wednesday, 80 on Thursday, 85 Friday, 87 Saturday, and 89 Sunday. And then it cools back down beginning the early part of next week. And one other thing that I wanted to share with you. Oh, wow. This is not going to make you happy, Brian.
In the air, deep right center, back toward the gap. Myers near the wall, and it's out of here! Pete Alonso!
Yeah, Pete Alonso just hit a grand slam for the Mets. Okay. Rocky Mount, you are about 14 miles, less than a half hour, I would say. Roanoke Rapids and Halifax and Enfield, you're still to get in on the action. Bailey, you still haven't seen much yet. Oh, new warning. Ha-ha. That popped up on the screen before it came to my chat. Severe thunderstorm warning for Nash County, northwest Edgecombe, northwestern Wilson, and south central Franklin until 8:45. Locations impacted include Rocky Mount, Leggett, Battleboro, Red Oak, Whitaker, Sharpsburg, Tarboro, Nashville, Bunn, and Tar River Reservoir. And that storm is moving from 251 degrees at 29 knots, which is about 32, 33 miles an hour. Maximum hail size less than 3/4 of an inch. Max wind gust 60 miles per hour. So again, a new severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Nash County, northwestern Edgecombe County, northwestern Wilson County, and south central Franklin County until 8:45. At 8:06, a severe thunderstorm located 8 miles southwest of Nashville, moving east to 35. And locations affected by this warning include Rocky Mount, Leggett, Battleboro, Red Oak, Whitaker, Sharpsburg, Tarboro, Nashville, Bunn, and Tar River Reservoir. So we have an 8:30 warning and an 8:45 warning now. And I really expect that northern warning for that box to shrink fairly soon, because clearly Centerville and Lewisburg are no longer at risk. I would probably cut that off, really, probably about something like that. Roanoke Rapids, it is closing in on you now. You are only about 6.5 miles from the leading edge. Lightning picking up down here. There's another warning down here near the North-South Carolina border. You know, it used to be in the old days that the National Weather Service in Raleigh was responsible for all 100 counties in North Carolina. And then when the Weather Service modernized back in the late 80s, they came up with what was a pretty cool idea, is that they installed these radars spaced in such a way that they overlapped each other. And basically, the Weather Service office was located near the radar and would cover the forecast, would have forecast responsibilities for about a 100-mile radius around that radar. So if you live down in Robeson County or Bladen County, those counties are served by Wilmington. And the Newport or Morehead City office covers Duplin County. And the Weather Service office in Wakefield, Virginia, which is in southeast Virginia, covers Northampton County in North Carolina. And Raleigh handles everything else. In fact, I think Raleigh even handles South Hill, Virginia, Mecklenburg County, Virginia, I think. So it's, the responsibilities can move across state boundaries. But it's just a much more efficient way to do things, because now each forecast office has a radar that covers their entire forecast area. Out here, yeah, that looks very unimpressive. That's from Blacksburg's perspective. Greenville, Spartanburg, yeah, that's not looking impressive at all. And that warning up there was probably issued by Wakefield. Let's take a look at that. It should. Usually when I click inside that box, the information comes up, but it's not coming up. What I can do, though, is go to the NWS chat for Wakefield, Virginia, and there it is. Severe thunderstorm warning for Northampton County. At 8:11, severe thunderstorms were located along a line from 6 miles east of Littleton to 9 miles west of Halifax to 9 miles north of Dorches, moving east at 50. Expect damage to trees and power lines. Severe thunderstorms will be near Gaston and Roanoke Rapids around 8:15. Garysburg around 8:20. Seaboard around 8:30. And Rich Square around 8:45. So that warning was issued from Wakefield, Virginia. They're responsible for Northampton County. And that warning goes until 9. And you can see why, because virtually that whole warning area, the only area that is experiencing any actual weather right now is the extreme western part of that polygon. So it'll take some time for that to get all the way across there. I just saw somebody mention salsa. John Sisk. I heard a very funny story the other day on Instagram that a wife called her husband and asked him to pick up chips and salsa on the way home from work. And then she abruptly hung up on him. And he said, I think she's still mad at letting me name the kids. Okay, the severe thunderstorm warning has been canceled for northeastern Franklin County. So now that warning is just in effect for Nash. You getting hungry, Doc?
Oh, I can eat whenever, but it's okay. You gotta do what you gotta do, man. You gotta be getting hungry too.
I am getting hungry. It's food for thought.
Getting out of the really bad area pretty quick.
Yeah.
There can't be that much around. I've been watching the radar a little bit.
Okay. That's
So you got everything up and going, don't you?
yeah, everything is working nicely here.
Yeah, I mean, you're live streaming. That's pretty sexy, man.
I thought I was going to have to save up for like a $4,000 computer, but apparently not, which is wonderful news. And my viewership is dropping off here as the thunderstorms are moving into less populated areas.
Yeah. But you've made you've got some loyal people and wanna.
Yeah, I really do appreciate those of you that have stuck with me here, and hopefully now that I know I can do this, then each time we'll get a little bit of a bigger audience. Got a good discussion going on here about fruits and vegetables. Let me get the cities back on here. There we go. All right, Roanoke Rapids, your long wait is almost over. Same thing with Enfield. Oh, and this is another little interesting tidbit, in case you're curious. If you look up here, where it has the latitude and the longitude and the elevation of the radar beam above the ground. So I will start here, and then as I go out, the middle of the radar beam at this point, just west of Wilson, is 1,000 feet above the ground. And then it is 2,000 feet above the ground, just to the southeast of Rocky Mount. 3,000 feet above the ground between Hobgood and Bethel. 4,000 feet above the ground near Hamilton. 5,000 feet above the ground near Windsor, and so forth. And it actually, the rate at which it's increasing gets larger and larger as you go away from the radar, because the Earth is curving away from the beam at a quicker and quicker pace. Let me take a look at this right here. A little bit of a notch there. Huh. No real evidence of any rotation. Okay, special weather statement. Strong thunderstorms will impact Wayne, eastern Sampson, and southeastern Johnston County through 9. Wind gusts up to 40. Locations impacted include Walnut Creek, Marmac, Princeton, Nahunta, Harrells, Cliffs of the New State Park, Ivanhoe, Elroy, Seven Springs, and Clinton. That is not a warning. It is a special weather statement for gusty winds up to 40 miles per hour. And that storm is moving from 245 degrees at 35 knots, so west-southwest at about 40 miles per hour. Okay. Well, this may be picking up a little bit out here. Just slightly so far, a little lightning. That might be more of a problem for our northern counties and not so much farther south. Let me see if trying to call up a satellite image for you here. Let me drag this up here so you can see this. Oh, where'd it go? Ah! Okay. So all of these red colors here indicate very cold cloud tops. In fact, I'm trying to think if there's a scale here or not. I don't see one. Okay. But anyways, when you start to see these red and orange and yellow colors, the clouds are very cold, and that means they extend very high up into the atmosphere. But you'll also notice over time, those cloud tops appear to be warming a little bit, which means that we may have reached our peak intensity for this particular system. And then, of course, as we widen the view here, which I know there's a way to do, because I do it all the time when I'm preparing for the Patreon stuff. Let's see here. Huh. Oh, here we go. Now I can change sectors. So here's that's the big sector. And that's the US one. So you see these clouds back, or see these like whitish gray colors back in here? Those clouds, if you're underneath those look just as ugly as the ones underneath here. But by looking at this, you can tell that the cloud top temperatures are not nearly as cold as these, and so the extent to which these clouds extend high up into the atmosphere is much smaller. So again, they may look very ugly from underneath, but we know from looking from on top that they're not capable of producing anything all that significant, if any precipitation at all. And it's the only way we can take satellite pictures at night. Obviously, when it's dark, you can't do that, but we can always measure how much radiation the tops of clouds are emitting. And so infrared satellite imagery is available 24/7. I just dropped my phone. Let's see here. National Weather Service has issued a new severe thunderstorm warning for central Nash, northern Edgecombe, and Halifax County until 9:15. At 8:25, a severe thunderstorm located along a line extending from Dahlia to near Halifax to near Nashville, moving northeast at 45. 60-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-sized hail are indicated as possible. Locations impacted include Roanoke Rapids, Enfield, Glenview, Rocky Mount, Leggett, Battleboro, Red Oak, Whitakers, Nashville, and Tillery. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning for central Nash, northern Edgecombe, and Halifax County until 9:15 tonight. And I will go back to the radar display so you can see where that is. That's this one over here. We're getting a lot of overlap now with these warnings. Yeah, so Roanoke
A
Rapids
severe
here.
thunderstorm warning has been issued.
Leading edge is past you. It's just about on Halifax, or was just a short time ago. Rocky Mount, things are bearing down on you. Yeah, the NAS said glad the tornado threat never materialized. This is one thing I brought up yesterday, that I just didn't see the amount of low-level wind shear that would favor that. I was more concerned about the damaging straight line winds than I was the tornado. But again, if you only have one tornado and you happen to be underneath it, it's a big deal for you. Is Harnett and Wake County in the clear? You bet they are. I'm gonna take a little look here. Hello, cursor. Where are you? There you are. I'm going to stop the animation. And I am going to look at storm relative velocity. And I don't see anything. There's a little bit of a notch there on the reflectivity. Just wanted to make sure. Got to be coming down pretty hard in Nashville right now. And again, that warning that's up there to the northeast of Roanoke Rapids is the one issued by Wakefield, Virginia, as that is their area of responsibility. Excuse me. I was wondering how many of you have seen the some of these weather videos on YouTube. And some of them are actually very good. The only thing I object to is that the headlines they use are pure clickbait. It makes it look like the world is coming to an end. And then when you actually watch the video, it doesn't really say that. But it's working for them. A lot of these people have millions, over 1 million followers. If you all wouldn't mind, I am going to get up out of my chair and get something to drink, and I will be right back, I promise. And I can let you look at the radar while I'm gone. Be right back. Getting sleepy. Yeah, I literally have nothing in the house. We need to probably make a grocery store run. There's an Olive Garden that stays open till 10 right up the road.
I'll do whatever you want.
Okay. All right, I'm back. Whoa. There's so many wires in this room right now that somebody is going to say, have a nice trip, see you next fall. All right, let me make sure I've not missed anything here. Nope. All right. Yes, Kat. Well, it's not coffee, it's a Gatorade break, but same intention. So just recapping, this morning, that includes Rocky Mount. There we go. That expires in 10 minutes. This one expires in 40 minutes, which is 9:15. And this one up here for Northampton County expires in 25 minutes, which is at 9 o'clock. And then really after this gets out, the only thing we need to watch is this. I'm going to take a bite of a Pop-Tart here, and I didn't want you to see me doing that, so that's why I took myself out. Oh, you probably, yeah, Kat, you must have heard me talking to Doc when I went out into the kitchen. That's one thing I always teach you in broadcasting is when you have a mic on, be very careful. Local storm report. This is in Halifax, North Carolina, 7 miles south-southwest of Rosemary. Power lines down near the intersection of Lonnie B. Green and Aurelian Springs Road. And that was at 8:15. So power lines down near the intersection of Lonnie B. Green and Aurelian Springs Road, 7 miles southwest of Rosemary, up in Halifax County. And I'm back. That stuff appears to be weakening a little bit. Doesn't look quite as angry as it did. It's also getting farther away from the radar. Let's take a look at this from the perspective of the Wakefield radar, which is up here. Okay. I wonder if I can do a dual pane. No, I don't think I can look at two different radars at the same time. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't shrunk those boxes. Go ahead and eat, Greg. We're eating a snack too. Yeah, the band rehearsal that I missed tonight, that group, we did an exchange concert with a band in Asheville. They came here, and then we're going to go there on Memorial Day weekend and perform at the Biltmore House, which should be lots and lots of fun. Let's go back to the Raleigh radar. And once these warnings are out of the area, I'll stop the live stream, but I promise you I will keep an eye on that stuff out to the northwest of Roxborough, and if anything comes of that, I'm not sure that it will, but if something were to come of it, I will be back on. Aha! So the National Weather Service has canceled severe thunderstorm watch for the following areas. The following counties: Chatham, Franklin, Hoke, Moore, Vance. Why don't I read you the cities? That'd be better. This includes the cities of Aberdeen, Angier, Apex, Bowie's Creek, Carborough, Carthage, Cary, Chapel Hill, Clayton, Creedmoor, and Dunn, Durham, Irwin, Fayetteville, Franklinton, Henderson, Hillsborough, Hope Mills, Kittrell, Knightdale, Lillington, Lewisburg, Norlina, Oxford, Pinehurst, Pittsboro, Rayford, Raleigh, Rougemont, Roxborough, Sanford, Selma, Siler City, Smithfield, Southern Pines, Spring Lake, Wake Forest, and Warrenton. It remains in effect until 10 o'clock this evening for areas like Clinton, Enfield, Goldsboro, Nashville, Princeville, Roanoke Rapids, Rocky Mount, Roseboro, Scotland Neck, Spring Hope, Tarboro, and Wilson. So only 6 counties now under a severe thunderstorm watch until 10 o'clock. And I think I can show you that watch area. I don't know how quick, apparently they haven't updated this, but that's the watch area. And again, this points out that, remember when they initially issued it, it was in effect until 10, but I told you that that entire area would not be threatened until 10 o'clock, that the expiration time is most of the time based on the far eastern extent of the watch, or where they expect the activity to be at that time. And so the idea is to whittle away at that watch from the west. And I've seen they've done that, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't shown up on the Radar Scope app yet. The warnings have been kept up quite nicely, but I guess the watches aren't considered to be as mission critical. So that second line is actually getting not too far from Roxborough now. But there have been no warnings issued, at least to this point, along that line. So this warning here that's up for Halifax County expires in 30 minutes if they don't cancel it before that. And this one also expires in 30 minutes. That's the watch, okay. A little bit of lightning just to the northwest of Roxborough. I appreciate your patience with me when there's not a whole lot going on here. Thank you. This font is so small. Is that Susie? Susie Q? I appreciate that. And it's fun to chat with you guys. I enjoy that. Let's zoom in here and see where we are. Yeah, this definitely does not look as angry as it did. It's like Rocky Mountain, you finally got to the leading edge and it doesn't look anywhere near as intense as it did as it was approaching you. I wouldn't be surprised if they just canceled that warning instead of letting it run its course. But that is not my decision. Here's another local storm report. This one is in Wake County, 4 miles north of Wendell. Several power outages reported along Riley Hill Road near Lizard Lick. Well, that's not really, well, I guess it could be wind damage that's causing the power outages. So just to reiterate the forecast, cooler the next couple of days, highs in the 60s, and then the warmest weather of the year so far coming our way late in the week and over the weekend, well up into the 80s. And we closed the books on March tonight. Can you believe that? And tomorrow is April Fool's Day. I can't remember if my parents did this or somebody put a fake worm in my cereal one morning when I was eating breakfast. Yeah, like Rich Square, you're getting close to the leading edge of the activity, but fortunately for you, it does not look anywhere near as intense as it was when it was farther to your west. I guess we've been at this, what, about almost 3 hours? Helen, you are welcome. Yeah, I was watching an old Johnny Carson clip. I guess it was on Facebook or something, but do you know it's been more years since Johnny Carson retired than the number of years that he was on the air? He was on the air from 62 to 92, and he's been off the air 33 years. Time flies when you're getting old. I sure hope that next line doesn't intensify, because that way I can grab some dinner at some point. Let's see what this is. I missed something? No, it's an old one. Okay. Well, I guess maybe it's just reissued, but power outages along Riley Hill Road near Lizard Lick. Not too far from Wendell. We'll animate this. Sometimes this is like watching paint dry. And by the way, I think I had mentioned this in one of my text updates. Originally, I was going to take Monday and Tuesday off. Obviously, this weather event got in the way of that. But looking at the schedule, I think what I'm going to do is take Tuesday, tomorrow, and Friday off. And of course, if anything comes up that's big, I won't do that, but I think that would be a safe bet at this point in time. Just looks like that second line is gathering a little strength. No warnings with it at this point. And again, with the way it's moving, it looks like it would be mainly a threat for the counties bordering the Virginia line, unless there was some rapid expansion to the south in a big hurry. Going to check on the surface weather map and see if the front's made any farther progress east. Front's definitely through Asheville. They are northwest at 9. And Boone is west at 11, gusting to 20. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect until 9:15 for east central Nash, northern Edgecombe, and eastern Halifax counties. This would include Enfield, Speed, Rocky Mount, Leggett, Brattleboro, Whitaker, Scotland Neck, Hobgood, Tillery, and Halifax. The warning remains in effect for those areas until 9:15, another 17 minutes. Well, Kat, I could if I had had time to produce it, the 7-day. I can, assuming this winds up here in the next few minutes, I will try to do just that. And one person says, go up to Calabash and get some seafood. I wonder if any of those restaurants stay open until 10. A lot of the restaurants here close at 9 o'clock. I know the Olive Garden stays open until 10, but I think they're the exception. And you know why you should never eat spaghetti late at night, right? Because it's pasta your bedtime.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh God, jeez.
You know, that darn stuff out northwest of here is getting stronger. Good news is, at least for now, it's not expanding southward at all. I hope the 32 people that are still with me enjoyed that. Well, my mic is still hanging in there. Let me take a look at this stuff over here.
Nothing too scary there at the moment. Yanceyville, got to be getting some pretty good range right now. You can also look at this stuff down here from the perspective of Morehead City. Yeah, looks about the same. These are, I believe, special marine warnings. That's what those boxes are down here. That line is trying to expand south. I got a couple of pixels here in Guilford County now. Oh, wow. James Proctor remembers my April Fool's forecast joke. It was at noon back in the 80s, and I said there had been a drastic change in the weather outlook, that precipitation had changed over to snow in Richmond, and that rain still line would progress southward, and everything would change over to snow in Raleigh, and got through the whole 3 minutes of the weathercast, and then said, April Fools. But I was here in April 18th of 1983 for the latest measurable snow in the history of the RDU airport. 1.8 inches fell, didn't all stick, but 1.8 inches fell on the 18th, and then there were flurries on the 19th. Pretty amazing stuff. Oh, I think I moved my... Hold on here, folks. There we go. Well, there we go. Well, you know what, folks? I know there's still technically a warning in effect up here for another 9 minutes, but it doesn't look too terribly bad up there in eastern Halifax and northern Edgecombe counties. And the rest of our area, Wilson, Goldsboro, Clinton, you're all in the clear. Still a bit of rain around, but that's it. And really, the only thing left to watch is this stuff up here. And I will keep an eye on that. And if anything comes of it, I will break back in. Or at the very least, communicate to you in some way. And I think that's going to do it for tonight. So I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for staying with me on this. I'm sure there will be other events where the warnings will be flying more frequently, and that we'll be getting, more and more reports of stuff going on. Tonight was, had a couple of flurries of activity, but certainly not nonstop mayhem for the 3 hours that we were on here. So, but I do thank you for tuning in, and I'm going to hit the stop streaming button here, and I will make up a 7-day and post that on Patreon, hopefully within 20 minutes, and that'll be it. So I thank you all, and we will talk to you again very, very soon, and stay safe. See you later, everybody.